Hey pet lovers, this is Liana with Wet Noses Pet Sitting, and I am here doing a daily update for this whole crazy coronavirus time. Doing a different subject every day. I've done a couple different things the last few days, so you can check those out. Here joining me today, this is Fitz. Oh, actually, this is good. He can demonstrate something. Actually, maybe I will pull my funny story. So I was going to talk about things that you can do to keep yourself entertained with your pets while you're home today. One of my favorites is actually to take a tissue box and when it's empty and to put some toys in it or treats and let your pets dig around in it to find things. And I thought I was such a genius, and I did this yesterday. This is not a new thing. I do this pretty regularly, but this good sir, Mr. Fitz, yeah, here, show your face. Mr. Show your face. Apparently did not delineate very well between used tissue boxes and new tissue boxes, and I woke up at 1 a.m. to this good sir rummaging around in the tissue box next to my bed, which was full, looking for whatever treat or toy or whatever was going to be in there. And then he proceeded to realize that there is nothing more fun than yanking tissues out of a box. So we spent the evening, and then we got in trouble, didn't we? We got in a little bit of trouble. And then I had to figure out a solution to that. So now my tissue boxes in my house are hidden from the kittens because they've all decided that they're going to run around and yank all the tissues out of all the boxes in the house. So we're being joined by everybody now who's wondering. They're all wondering what we're going to do with the cool tissue box, which is nothing. We're going to do nothing right now. Let me say hello, Fix. Yeah. So that is one idea for things to do with your pets today, with the anticipation that you will then need to put away your tissue boxes that you don't want them playing with. It's good times. So on to the other things. Today we are going to, for my useful part of this, we're going to talk about how to prepare your pets for specifically the coronavirus, because the preparation for this is a little bit different than a different emergency situation. So I kind of want to just cover that today, because otherwise I could be here for the next half an hour. Nobody wants to listen to me talk about this for half an hour. So we're going to specifically talk about this. Some of the humane societies and stuff have come out with really good lists, so I encourage you to take a look at those. But I want to emphasize from a pet sitter's perspective and some just kind of generic information what I think is important. So first off, there's all the normal stuff. Oh, and I will do a written version of this and post it in the next couple hours. So if you prefer to have a written version or don't want to take notes, it'll be there in the next couple hours. So just have to check back. So first off, take a look at your supplies and do figure out what you need. And I am not saying going and buying like a 5-month supply of cat food, because that's crazy talk. I am in the firm camp that this is not as big of a deal as everybody is making it. We do need to do what we can to self-contain, but that, it's not that we're going to be 5 months without cat food. So the situations where you do want to be careful is if your pet eats a food that is hard to get or needs a medication that is hard to supply. Those things you definitely want to make sure you can get a 30-day supply of, ideally, so that you have those ready to go. If you don't want to have contact with people, that's okay. I am seeing that a lot of the vets here locally, and I'm sure everywhere, are doing either some sort of delivery service or where you can pick them up outside of their clinic, so you don't have to go in, so you can just call them or send them an email and arrange it. But even my vet has like a delivery, they have like an online pharmacy kind of thing. So you can get stuff that way if you don't want to have contact, or if you are in one of the high-risk categories, consider getting a neighbor or a friend to pick stuff up for you so you don't have to worry about it. Just arrange it all. So basic supplies, have those ready and ready to go. Now, other things. I am going to talk about this in like a worst case scenario situation, so bear with me. If you are, everybody has the chance of getting sick, and I worry about super extreme examples, and I don't know about you, but in my household, I provide all, kittens being crazy, all of the pet care and everything in my household. So for all of my pets, and I have a fair number of pets, if anybody knows. I'm not positive that my husband even knows what my cats are fed. So that's just that. So what I did, and that you could replicate if you like, is I actually put together an online document, and I just used a Google Drive document for for sake of ease. And I put together both a short and a long list of things that people would need to know about my pets. And I made the assumption that if I were to completely drop off the face of the earth in 3 hours, what would somebody do to take care of my pets? And one of the cats just got his head stuck in a tissue box. Okay, there we go. That's good times. So what would you do? So I did 2 things. I did a short checklist that was just basically the rundown of the day. Now keep in mind, I have a lot of pets. So this is like, feed this animal this time, feed this animal this time, this one gets this medication, on and on. And then I did a longer document that had further details, like this is the medical history of all of these animals, this is where I typically get their food, this is what type of food that they eat. My dog eats a raw diet, so what does that actually look like if somebody else had to prepare it that wasn't me? Because I prepare it in bulk and freeze it. So what do my chickens eat? Everything across the board. And then I shared the link to that document. So I printed a quick version and left it in my house, and my family knows where it is. And then I sent a link of that, like a shared link, to my family that is local. And because I have pet sitters, I put that link into my pet sitting profile. So if anybody ever needed to pet sit long term for me, they would have that information. So if you were going to be traveling, you might consider doing that. I know my pet sitting company would appreciate it, because a lot of times when people travel, they just give us the very basic information of what we need to know for that trip. So if you were to think instead, like, we've got people that are stuck out of town for 3-4 weeks of a month. So if you provided that information for us, then we would have that in case there was ever a need for it, and you can just keep it up to date as long as you need. So I think that level of preparedness is really helpful, and ideally you just have to update it if there's ever any major changes, and it's very useful right now. So because people are getting really sick really fast. The next thing is various records. So things like rabies tags and stuff, rabies records are the most important. I ideally think you should have some sort of online record of all of your pet's medical care in case your veterinarian is not reachable. I think veterinarians are doing their best right now to stay open and reachable and accessible, but if they ever weren't, it's nice to have some of those records. So I always recommend scanning them and keeping them online somewhere, or keeping at least a consolidated record of what's going on, so that, you know, my dog has kidney issues, so if somebody else needed to take care of my dog and he started all of a sudden showing weird symptoms and my veterinarian wasn't available, they could look at the records and say, okay, historically he's had kidney issues, this is what we need to do to treat this. So having some sort of accessible online record, and having scanned things like your scanned proof of rabies is really, really useful if you are ever planning for something like a fire or an evacuation emergency. So that's not what this is right now, but if you were ever possibly going to evacuate, you would need records that you could easily transport. And there's nothing more easily transportable than data that's on the cloud. So if you can save that online or you can access it anywhere, that's the best case scenario. You do not have to chew on my notes. You do not. Okay, I'm checking my notes. I actually have notes for these videos. If anybody's watched all of my historical videos, a lot of times I do them without notes, but there is just like so much information I'm trying to cover in all of these videos that I've had to take more detailed notes. Make sure if you are traveling, or even at your house, have some sort of written recommendation for who you want to care for your pets if you were to get really sick. So again, this is a bigger issue for your high-risk folks out there. But if you were traveling and not able to get back, we provide all of our clients with a card that goes in their wallet that just basically says, I have pets at home. If something happens to me, please notify my pet sitter with our information. We also provide magnets that go on their fridge that basically says, if there's ever an emergency in my household and you need someone to care for my pets, please call this person. So that's available. You can use those, you can leave them out on a counter so that it's very accessible. Also, if you have somebody that you know that you want caring for your pets, if something were to happen, definitely make that information super prominent and let them know, and make sure that they have all of the care information for your household. So whether that be a pet sitter, whether that be a friend or a family member or the kid next door, whatever the case may be, make sure you have that detailed, and that don't make the assumption that you're going to be able to plan something just because people are getting very sick very quickly. And along with that, consider updating your will. So if you are home and don't have anything to do, you can update your will. You can even do even just general ones without getting it notarized or making it super official. Having some sort of written documentation that says what you want to have happen with your pets is really useful. Not necessarily even if you pass away, but if you were out of commission for an extended period of time, that would be very useful for people to know. And make sure that there's contact information on there for everybody. Just leaving a name is not super helpful because, yeah, it's hard to find people. So just making sure you have those things in place. And if you have expensive pets, or if you're looking for a professional pet sitting company or somebody, or really anyone that doesn't have a lot of money to care for your pets, consider making an accessible source of money. So to feed my entire household of pets for a month would be costly. And I would not be able to, even if I had my pet sitting team do that, I would need to provide the money for that somehow. So either I would need to leave cash somewhere, or I need to have a credit card accessible, something that they could access if they needed to purchase things. So consider just how you can provide that, whether it be like, old school, an envelope full of cash sitting on your counter, where the kittens cannot eat it because the kittens have eaten things off of our counter like that. Or, like if it were our clients, we would just request that they have a credit card on file with us that we can use for purchases like that. We would pay for them and then charge the client for a reimbursement in that case. So if you're using a pet sitter, maybe check with them to see kind of what that situation might look like and what they would prefer to have available. We actually prefer just to get reimbursement for it. But everybody's a little bit different. So check with whoever would be taking care of your pets to make sure that there is enough money. Especially if you have elderly animals. Say like you end up in the hospital. I'm gonna say worst case scenario. Well, worst case scenario is somebody passing away. But second worst case scenario is you get really sick and you end up in the hospital for 3 weeks. And somebody is gonna be taking care of your animals. What is everything that they would need to know and have in order to successfully do that? And that means veterinary release permissions signed to make sure that they can get veterinary care if they need to. All the medications that your pets would need, all the food, any money for any additional expenses, all of that stuff would need to be readily and easily accessible. So you would like to have that, and then you need to provide that for other people. So if you are bored today, consider getting on, and you have a Google account, if you ever use Google Docs, consider getting onto Google, making up a bunch of this stuff, information, and just making it accessible to people so that, to your emergency folks, whoever those are, so that they have that information if they need it. And that is the best way to prepare for all of this. If you want to not feel bad about what a household looks like, I already had mine written and spent 5 hours updating it the other day. So I have a lot of pets, and they all have really special concerns. Yay! But they make us happy in the meantime. So, and hopefully I never need to use it, but it's there just in case. So take those emergency precautions. It's gonna give you peace of mind, and it's gonna be there in case we need it. If you are a client of ours and are doing that, feel free to just do like a copy paste of the link into your profile. I did mine onto my pet information because I use the same system as everybody else. And I just said, in an emergency, here's the full detailed information for all of the pet care and medical information required for my animals. There you go. And there was a link. Nobody's gonna access it unless we need it. So it's not, yeah, it's there. So other things you can do today, definitely, I keep telling people this, get out, get out, get out. Don't get just stuck in your house. Take your dog for a walk, sit outside in the grass with your cat. We all need some social interaction. Just because we're doing what social distancing, I guess is what we're calling it, does not mean that you have to stay locked in your house all day. Just don't go out and touch a bunch of people. I looked for this information and I could not find it, but a while back I read some very detailed research about how humans actually get the greatest satisfaction from minor social contact. So small conversations with people. Hey, how's your dog? Hey, how are you doing today? Look at the weather. Those conversations actually increase your happiness levels and bring a lot of joy to you on a very basic level. So get out there and do that. It can be very depressing. As somebody who works with animals all day and works from home most of the time, I can tell you it can be very depressing to not have contact with another human. So get out, get some contact with other people, chat with people online if you need to, but ideally you can see some people face to face and see that there is actually still humans around. And help your neighbors, help small businesses. If I'm saying this for my business, that if you guys, for people who are sick and need your dogs walked, we will do that. We are not forcing our sitters to do it. It's completely voluntary. And so we are letting our sitters go out and do visits. For people who are ill, just let us know. Hey, Gabby just joined us. Hi, Gabby. So just let us know and we can come do visits for you. What we're doing for that, just in case people are concerned, is we're just asking that either people leave their doors unlocked or we'll grab their keys, and we're just grabbing the dog out of the house, taking them for a walk, and returning them without entering the house, without any social contact. We can just text the person and let them know we were there and that their dog is doing great. So there's a lot of ways to do this without us taking too many risks. And so we're willing to do that. And I think probably a lot of pet sitting and dog walking companies that I've talked to are willing to do that. So feel free to reach out to people. This is a tough time for local small businesses. So reach out and get gift cards for places. Yeah, go have a good time and enjoy whatever time you get off, and don't go too crazy. And I will be back tomorrow with some more ideas. I'm doing these every day. I'm not sure what topic I'm going to cover tomorrow, but I'm going to come up with something. And I hope to see you guys back here hanging out with us. So thank you all. Have a wonderful day, pet lovers.